This time on Level Up with Lighthouse, we're talking about two concepts within your business that you definitely feel, you can definitely measure, and they have a big impact on your talent attraction and retention. We're talking brand and culture. Let's go. Today, I'm glad to have my good friend Rachael Brown on the show. Rachael is VP of Sales and Marketing for Employer Services Corporation and Meliora Partners, two companies that do a lot of impactful work in Western New York and beyond. Being in the sales and marketing seats, Rachael gets to see firsthand the external and the internal impact of two concepts that we're talking about today on the show, brand and culture. And after that, I'm bringing you a little bit of my day in the life because I want to talk about brand and culture at Lighthouse Technology Services and how it relates to the work that we do. Whether this is your first episode of Level Up with Lighthouse or you've been watching for a couple episodes now, really appreciate every bit of feedback that we can get. So you can connect with me, Joe Ray, on LinkedIn, and would love to hear your thoughts. More to come from me later, but let's get into the episode. Let's go. Hey everyone, we're back here with my friend Rachael today. Rachael, how you doing?
Hi Joe, good. How are you?
I am so glad that you're here. First time at the Lighthouse office.
It is.
Was showing you around a little bit.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part?
So far, the game room is pretty incredible, and there's a combination of arcade games and old school board games that I haven't seen in probably 30 years, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
The photos when you first walk in of various team members interacting in the community, doing different team events, that's really cool. And how could you not love a room that's covered with comic books? So this is a pretty cool place to be. It strikes me how bright it is, bright colors. It's a place that you want to be for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be cool, and we're going to get into a lot. But really, like, the essence of this room even, too, is just the value of doing something different and, like, understanding who you are, what makes you unique, what's attractive or interesting to the people you want to work with, and like finding ways to bring all that in. So
absolutely.
So really looking forward to that. Tell us a little bit about yourself. So Employer Services Corporation, we were just talking before this started.
Yep.
Just celebrated 30th company anniversary.
Yes.
And you've been there 15 years.
15 years, yes.
So like that's a really cool time arc and whatnot as well, because then like coming in when the company's well established, but now over 15 years, obviously a lot's got to change as well. Like, what's that journey been like for you and exploring that with ESC?
Yeah, it's really been incredible. So ESC started with two people. It was a scrappy little startup. We got our first customer, I think, in 1996, founded in 1995. And today we're at about 85 people, hundreds of clients. With our 30th anniversary, we did a lot of things, put together a cool video, tried to really go back and look at the journey that ESC has taken over the years. And it's amazing to see how far we've come. You know, when we're in the day-to-day, it doesn't feel like these massive changes. It's just all of these little things. But then when you look back and see how we did things back then to what we're doing now, it's really remarkable. So, kudos to the company, as any founder can tell you. Growing the startup organically and being able to celebrate 30 years is pretty awesome. But for me personally, it's been an amazing journey. And I think that what has been the best part for me, I've had like 4 different careers, all with the same awesome company. So I started with a company in sales and, did that for quite a while. Brought in a variety of different types of businesses, clients, to the ESC fold. But then I started to have the opportunity to get into some other things. So marketing, we really didn't do a whole lot of marketing. Our marketing was word of mouth. It was kind of sales driven, but I was the second salesperson. We had a sales team of 2. The first was one of our company vice presidents, and the owner did the sales. So. Yeah. That was a really interesting journey. Then as we got more sophisticated getting into marketing, I kind of put my hand up and said, hey, let's redevelop our website. Let's do some things to share the experience of ESC and all of the awesome things that we do for our clients with the broader community. There's only so many people that an individual can reach. And with all of the digital tools that are out there now, you can reach significantly more people. So sometimes when you put your hand up and suggest something, you become the one doing it. But it's really been incredible because I've had the opportunity to learn so much there. Our company started another company, a sister company called Meliora Partners. Nice. Meliora is a continuous improvement company. We use the Lean Six Sigma methodology. So today we have 14 Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belts on our team, and we service clients both locally and around the country. And I was actually we do Lean Six Sigma Green Belt and Black Belt training. I was in the inaugural Green Belt class. Again, something that we were looking for a few ESC people to participate in. I had no idea what it was about. I put my hand up. I loved it. And so they wanted to add somebody locally here to help grow out the Western New York division, and that person was me. So I got the opportunity to learn this entirely new, really cool thing and figure out how to grow that company. That company, when it started, we had 3 master black belts, so we've grown significantly there. So I ended up getting involved with our CRM system. We used to have an Excel spreadsheet when I first started. We went to a couple software packages that maybe weren't so great. So, made a suggestion of really looking at some different software and kind of became that guru, the owner of our HubSpot. So it's really been, as the company has grown and evolved, I have had so many opportunities that I never would have imagined when I first joined the company 15 years ago as a salesperson. That's been incredible for me in my career. So it's been a really, really great journey, and I truly can't wait to see what the next several years bring, because we are still a growing and evolving company. While we're at 30 years, we're certainly not done innovating, looking at better ways to serve our clients, looking at how we can provide a better experience for employees, all that good stuff.
That last part there makes me think of like the Buffalo Bills, and like they always talk about trust the process and that kind of stuff. And you look at 30 years in longevity, and you have to like take into account absolutely, like there's so much hard work that goes into that. Like Lighthouse, we're at 20 years, so we're on that same kind of track too. But it's kind of like you think about what's next and what you can do different, and so much of it is rooted in like the original purpose of why you show up here, the difference you want to make for your customers, things like that. That's really cool with Meliora, and that story there of like informing, continuous improvement is such an important part to the people aspect and how a company operates and things like that. So that's cool to see there's some interplay there between ESC and Meliora Partners, and that it's brought some benefits to ESC as well.
100%. Really cool. And we work very closely together. We share some clients, but the reality is, if you're standing still, if you're not always looking for ways to improve, eventually somebody's going to bypass you. And so it's really important to always be looking at, what problems do we have? What could be better? Really getting creative with, getting out of the mindset of this is how we've always done things to what could be. And as the world around us changes, things that we might not have control over, we need to be nimble and adapt. But the most interesting thing to me about getting involved with Meliora and having Meliora's processes kind of brought into how we do things at ESC is the impact it's had on our employees. So Meliora takes an approach when we're working with all of our clients that the best change comes from the folks that are working there. They know where the bodies are buried, so to speak. They know those little things that somebody, even at the top of an organization, may not be aware of. So our process is to bring in a cross-functional section of our clients or at ESC of the team. So we might have a representative from the benefits team, the payroll team, the HR team, the finance team. Every department that touches whatever that problem is that we're solving or change we try to execute. And what Meliora does is provide the tools, the process, the facilitation. But what ends up happening is the people that were involved in that change of all different levels become champions for the change. They're the ones that created the solution. Mm-hmm. And so not only does it stick, it also adds a lot to employee engagement. When an employer can say to their employees, hey, I trust you to really look at this problem and come up with a solution, what that does for employee motivation and engagement is incredible.
Yep. And all those things are at the root of culture, which I know we're going to talk about a lot here. And that's a really interesting thing to define. Yes. Because on some level, it's the broad, the macro, how you do everything is what culture is. But then also on the micro level, it's how do you show up in conversations with employees? How do you design your business processes and how you deliver your product or service? It shows up in so many different places. When you think about Employer Services Corp, how does ESC define culture?
Yeah, and you're right that it's a difficult thing to define, similar to brand, which can be a difficult thing to define. Mm-hmm. Both of those things, you kind of know it when you feel it, and it's difficult to define. But the way we look at it is, it goes to the heart of what ESC is and who we are. And same thing with Meliora. The culture is what you feel when you walk into our building. It's what your experience is when you're working with our team members, both from a client perspective. It's who we are when we're out in the community. It's the way that we represent ourselves, digitally. It's the PowerPoint deck that we use. It's the color palette that we use. It's all of these things were very carefully designed to support our culture. And I think most importantly, it's the set of values that are shared amongst everybody that works there. Mm-hmm. So without a strong set of values, it's very difficult to build culture and to maintain culture. As an HR company, we do a lot of different strategic projects for clients, and clients will often say to us, hey, I need to improve my culture. So, we want to do a project around that. Mm-hmm. And if they really want to, if a business really wants to make a shift in culture, it has to start at the top, and you have to be willing to invest a couple of years of really digging into defining who you are, what it means to be at this company, defining your values, focus groups with employees, working on engagement, all kinds of different things. So it's not just a quick, hey, I'm going to change my culture and in 2 weeks it's magically going to be different. It's really a thoughtful, intentional journey that you go on and work on every single day. You know, reflecting back on our 30 years at ESC, we had the same values back then as we did today, and they've guided every decision that we make. And so when we think about when we're making a major decision for our company, or, you know, looking at changing the way we do something, we always reflect back on, how does this impact our culture? How does it impact our employees? How will it impact our clients? Is it aligned with who we've always been, that core of who we are? If it does, we move forward. If it doesn't, we tweak it, or we don't do it at all. So it's something difficult to actually put into a quick, concise definition, but it's one of those things that, you know it if you see it, and the benefits of a strong culture to an organization are tremendous.
Yeah.
Including dropping right to the bottom line. Businesses that are the most successful today, the ones that we all admire and the ones that we strive to be like, have a very well-defined corporate culture.
Yeah, and that's the thing I always think about when I think about culture, and then working in marketing as well, like brand kind of being like the external representation.
Yes.
Well, branding being the external reputation of that, and then the brand being like what other people think of you when they think of your company, when they think of the people there, things like that. There's so much there in terms of, I completely forgot. I was just going to go with that. Oh, my God.
There is so much there, though. You're right.
Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. When you think about brand, when you think about culture, you mentioned like the bottom line there. There's so much there in terms of, it's not something individually in and of itself that you can measure, but you can measure its effects. Like if your culture is really strong, you can measure that in terms of talent retention, in terms of employee engagement. If you have a really strong brand in your market, you'll see that in terms of inbound, marketing activity, in terms of pipeline generated, in terms of, community engagement, even in terms, if you, get employees like recognized, or the company gets recognized in the community, things like that. It's because there's a positive reputation, things like that. What does that look like to measure those kinds of things? And are you thinking about that consciously, like when you're setting up principles of culture or brand, and how you want to measure those?
Definitely. So like brand, culture is a difficult thing to measure its effectiveness, because it's kind of that underlying piece that informs almost everything else that you do. But a couple metrics are things that you talked about. Turnover rate. So you think about today, turnover is so important. And I think that sometimes businesses don't realize just how much turnover costs them. You can put it into dollars. I think there's some statistics out there, maybe 1.5 times employees' salary is what it costs them, or things like that. That's a little out of my wheelhouse, so I'm not exactly sure.
I feel like I've seen that before somewhere in a blog post or something. Yeah,
exactly. So you think that's very costly, the disruption to the day-to-day workflow, the institutional knowledge that employee has is out the door, and you're working with somebody new. You know, as much as we like to think we're great at hiring, you're still always taking a chance, and people are the absolute most important part of a business. Without the right people, you could have the best ideas, the best technology, the best equipment. You are not going to have a successful business without the right people. And I truly believe that to be true, even as we get into the world of AI. I was just at an AI presentation yesterday, and we're starting to dip our toe into that water. And the people are still going to make the difference. So, measuring culture in terms of retention is important. We try to measure employee engagement. That is something that is very much driven by culture. If you're hiring the right people for the right positions and motivating them appropriately, they're going to be highly engaged. And why that matters is their output is going to be significantly higher. So there's all kinds of studies out there by people who have the right methodologies to do this type of thing that demonstrate that your highly engaged employees are going to produce many times the amount of output that your not so engaged employees might produce. So, when I think about culture, I think about trust, trusting that everybody is on the same page, that we're moving in the right direction, building trust with your clients, building trust with the community. Yeah. Having trust is such an important thing for a business, and you can measure that in terms of, what is your customer acquisition like? When you look at a company that has a strong culture, a strong brand, people are going to make a quicker decision to work with them because they believe in that brand and they believe in those values and they believe in that culture. With technology, you can really see that play out because there's some tried and true technology names out there that everybody recognizes. So when they put out a new product, if it's backed by a technology company that they recognize, the individual and the user is going to have a lot more trust in engaging with that new piece of software than if it's a random company that they had never heard of. That trust factor is not there. They're going to be significantly less likely to engage, to utilize that. It's the same thing everywhere. You know, we all work in very competitive environments. ESC is in a competitive environment. Your organization is as well.
100%.
When we can build that strong culture and that trust, it means that people are going to come to us and they're going to feel a lot more comfortable working with us and trusting us to help them with their most important asset, their people, much faster. So the benefits to the business are tremendous. And you can look at all of these areas and, you know, kind of set your own metrics, set your own KPIs. Culture and brand drives all of it.
Yeah, and maybe not everybody's going to come to us if we have like the perfect brand or the perfect culture, but the right ones, the right customers, the right people. It's going to be easier to bring those people in. Maybe they even come to you because I always talk about the term like gravity.
Yes.
I love it as a scientific concept. But also like when you think about brand and culture and things like that, like it's intangible, you can't see it, but you know it's there.
Yes.
Like we know that gravity's here when we're on Earth because we're on the ground.
Yes.
In our planet.
Yes.
Things
Exactly.
like that. Like when you have a strong brand, like you see the engagement, you see like there's like a magnetism, like when people go to events, like when we go to events at Lighthouse, like we always try to bring a really positive presence and like leave people better than before they started having a conversation with us. Those kinds of things I think really go a long way. And it's a part of also like how marketing can show up in company culture as well, I think there's a part of marketing and you get to see marketing and sales. So you get to be the frontward representation of both, like how brand and culture show up in those different parts. But marketing, I think, has a big part to play in terms of determining like how these things that might be in a deck, like core values or value proposition and things like that, like how those come to life in different creative ways. Like I remember going around your office the other day and seeing like the cool little almost like camp style signs for wayfinding around the office and things like that. Like that's such a cool way to say, okay, this is who we are, this is who we're for, what are some different like creative different ways that we can bring that to life. Like that's got to be a really rewarding experience to be able to be like a steward and like helping the company.
It's the best. I feel so lucky. I feel like I have the best job because I do get to do those two really cool things. So a couple things you just said that I just wanted to expand on a little bit. Yeah. So those camp signs, part of our culture is to be a welcoming environment to all. So those camp signs are almost a reflection of that culture. Hey, we want you to come visit us and we want you to find your way around. And any person at ESC will show you where you need to go. Yeah. But we're going to put signs up as well. So you can do these little things that maybe don't scream. We're not posting on the wall, hey, we're a welcoming culture, this is one of our values, but you can do these little things that demonstrate that, which I think is really cool. You also had mentioned with customers, you know, maybe you're not right for everybody, but for those right businesses that are a fit, they're going to come to you quickly. It's the exact same thing with employees. So we've had many great employees at ESC that just didn't work out. And they didn't work out not because they were bad at what they do or bad people. They're very talented people, but the way that they want to work and their values didn't align with ESC's values, so there was a mismatch there. And so, you know, again, when you look at the cost of turnover, because, sorry, I talk with my hands a lot and I almost took out the microphone here.
Love it, all good.
So, you know, by really living and defining your culture and your values, you're going to have a better shot at attracting those right people out of a sea of talented people that are out there. You're going to find the right ones that are going to stay and thrive and be heavily engaged. So it's so cool how culture and brand work both on the internal and external. They're going to grow your business and get you more clients and get you the right kind of clients, but also get you the right kind of employees that are going to propel your growth forward and give the customers, you know, fulfill that brand promise that you make to your customers when you're in the acquisition phase.
Yeah, 100%. One thing that was interesting there that I wanted to ask about as well, like what does the team look like of the people who determine like the culture and the brand? Because I think that's so important for people to realize that this is a thing that like you can't just hire one person to be the brand guy or the brand gal. You can't hire one person to be like the head of people and be the culture setter. Like it has to be from the CEO, from the president, whoever, you know, companies that have a board, like from the top down. Like these are things that institutionally have to be just accepted and valued and owned by everybody. What does that kind of look like?
Yeah, no, that's a great question and something I really love talking about. So it's interesting. So I mentioned, we put together a little video in celebration of our 30-year anniversary. And in part of that video, I included a speech that Greg, the owner of our president, one of the co-founders of our company, that he made when he was accepting an award. And when he was giving that speech, he talked about founded ESC on 2 core values: to create an environment where talented people would want to come, work, stay, thrive, grow, and to deliver exceptional service to our clients each and every day. So that's where we started, and we still focus on that. We've built out our culture and built out our values, but those 2 things are so important to us, and we work and live that every day. To actually define what our set of core values are, we came up with a committee of employees to help to define that. And they were from all across the organization, different levels of the organization, different departments. It was a cross-functional team that sat down and said, what does it really mean to be at ESC? What are our corporate values? Why do we come here every day? What is it that really motivates us? A talented individual has many choices of where they want to work. If you're an excellent marketer, you're a really great marketer. You don't have to work at Lighthouse. You choose to work at Lighthouse. There's many companies that you could work at. So why are you making that choice? Why are you, as a talented individual who really knows their stuff, making a choice to come here every day? It's the culture. And so we looked at that and really worked to define it. We also do things like we have an employee experience committee that looks at not just planning all the fun events that we do, but also looks at, hey, what do employees want? Things change over the years. And so as new generations come into the workplace, it's really important that you hold true to your core values, but you're not so married to this is how we do things that you're not able to evolve as time evolves. And so that group is consistently looking, and they make recommendations to our executive team, who really focuses on culture. And 9 times out of 10, we take the recommendations that they make. One of the recommendations recently was to do summer hours. As we were noticing that more and more businesses were doing Friday, maybe cut out a little bit early over the summer. And as we were noticing that our phone tended to not ring as much between 3 and 5 on a Friday in July, the Employee Experience Committee made a recommendation that, hey, maybe we can institute something like this. And so we talked about it, and we figured out a way to make it work both for our business and the employees. And now those summer hours are a perk that everybody really loves at ESC, and able to, start the weekend a little bit early. And that was generated from that team. So I think it's really important that it has to start at the top, but to engage the entire company, as many people as you can, to talk about what that looks like in practice, what that looks like day to day is important. And really, same thing with brand. We went down this brand journey when we first started to really invest in marketing, and it was about 5 years ago. And we engaged a partner to help us with that. And the first thing they said is, we really need to define your brand first. So we went through a whole branding exercise. And I was kind of surprised, being a total rookie at marketing and not really knowing what it was all about. I was surprised, but trusted, what they were doing. And I have to tell you, it made such a difference for us to really define, not only looking at our mission, our vision, our values, the personality of our company, but also looking at how we express our brand. So, what our slide decks look like, the tone of our communications, the color palette that we use, the typeface that we use, the icons that we use, the imagery that we use. All of those things have played into developing out our brand. So we did a big brand presentation. So after we kind of did this definition exercise with our marketing partners, we had a celebration, invited the entire company, and kind of rolled out this brand definition.
Yeah, nice.
And just like with how continuous improvement, it surprised me how much it engaged employees that participated. The brand really brought us all together. And the impact that a well-defined brand had on an already really great culture. That is something that ESC has been known for and has really strived for, as I mentioned, with what Greg said from day one.
Yeah.
To see that come to light, and to see everybody really have a better understanding of, how together we can express this brand and live this brand every single day, made people really excited. They completely embraced all of these things so that we can deliver a consistent message both to our clients as well as to our prospective clients in the community.
Yeah, and there's another great example too of the interplay between culture and brand, of here's how we decided to make a decision, even taking the summer hours example that you mentioned there too. we have decided that we are going to include so many different people from across the organization to make sure that this is in line with how everybody works and how everybody wants to have their experience, in a small dose, talking about Friday afternoons in the summer, to then be able to have the company operation to roll that out throughout the company. That impacts how people feel about their work in some small way, but makes a positive impact that way. That then leads to them feeling more connected to their work and like having a say in like how things get done, which leads to better service for your clients, which then leads to better reputation and more tangibility of your brand and feeling that brand affinity that way of if people are doing great work through Employer Services Corporation, through Meliora, then people are going to be more likely to work with you for longer, to refer you to other people, things like that. That's the interplay right there. But it starts with, this is how we operate, this is how we make decisions, those kinds of things that are really fundamental and come from the top and things like that. And that's really important. But what a cool journey to be able to like go the last 5 years through building this new brand and like having that as a unifying way to bring everybody together.
Yeah, it's been amazing and really fun. And, we've aspects of our culture, we've been able to inform the brand decisions that we make. So, for example, we are very hands-on with our clients. When we look at our space, a lot is done electronically, these days digitally, which is wonderful, and there's a place for that, and it's fantastic. With many things in HR, having a person that, you can talk to, bounce ideas off of, and even having somebody that can come on site and work directly with you, that's part of our secret sauce. That's something that is really unique for us. Yeah. And we have this big team of folks that at a moment's notice, as long as it's feasible, local clients,
for sure.
We're on site working side by side with our clients. So as we were looking at how we were putting together various marketing materials, slide decks, we wanted to actually use, rather than using stock images, we wanted to use images of our people. And that decision was made as a reflection of our commitment to customer service, to being on site, to being in person, and to being available to our clients when they need us. So we brought in photographers, we took a bunch of different photos, and now everybody in the company is part of our marketing materials. Mm-hmm. We made sure that we had everybody there that day, and everybody knew to block out that time so we could make sure that we were capturing all of ESC, different people photographed doing different aspects of their work, working with clients. And so when you see ESC slide decks, ESC marketing materials, we're updating some pages on our website right now, hoping to roll that out in the next couple of weeks. We're using our real people, which is a subtle nod to our culture. So it's really kind of cool how a culture and values can inform the decisions that you make in branding. That can inform the community and who you are as a business. And it all comes back kind of circular manner to you and setting up the right expectations and making that brand promise to your clients. And we live it every day. So it's awesome. It's been an incredible learning experience for me. I would say, taking on new challenges and doing things that are a little bit outside of your comfort zone is, you kind of feel like you're not quite sure where you're going. Yeah. Having trusted experts is key to success, leaning on people who know more than I do. Mm-hmm. I would always say, I'm an expert at ESC. I'm not an expert at marketing. So I'm going to rely on you to help me to, guide some of these decisions. And you're going to rely on me to tell you about our company, what's important, what our values are, that kind of thing.
But what's really nice there, and talking about like transferable skills, obviously from being in sales, from being in an organization that provides HR services, you have a lot of the understanding of people and what makes them tick and what motivates them, that then you can take into marketing and how you communicate with them, how you build the brand.
Definitely.
Things like that. That's such a huge part of it too, is that when culture and brand and these things need to bring people with different experiences, diverse perspectives, things like that to the table in order to get the best accurate representation possible, as opposed to just, whether it's just senior leadership or it's just people who've been at the company for 20 years and nobody new is in the room. It really has to be that holistic thing. And that's how, like, I always look at these things. Like, I've got the Be a Lighthouse and Light Up Those Around You, like our 2 core values that I wear. And you know what? I need people to know I did not pay Rachel to wear the Be a Lighthouse band. Yes, I did give you one of those a couple weeks ago, but appreciate you rocking the company merch.
Well, and just to share kind of why I put it on this morning. So as Joe and I were talking about this, Joe had given me these bracelets, and I thought, we had a really great conversation a few weeks ago about the marriage of brand and culture, that spurred this episode today.
Yeah, I was like, why didn't we record this? It should just be a podcast episode. Like, can you come in person and we'll do it again?
Right. But this is such a good example of the marriage of brand and culture. So, when you think about various things like, bracelets, swag, company merch, all of those types of things, usually you think of that as part of the marketing team, right? And, the people that's usually marketing that is making those orders, deciding what to get. But this Be a Lighthouse is a simple, 3-word phrase that is clearly a core part of your culture. So you're getting marketing materials that demonstrate your culture. And if I knew nothing about Lighthouse, I could look at this and I could make some pretty educated guesses about what it's like here. You think about what a lighthouse is. It guides people, it guides boats, it guides them into shore. It helps people find their way. So I would imagine that your culture has a lot to do with helping people find their way, not helping a boat come into shore, but helping people find their way, whether it's to the right career for them or the right technology services for them or whatever it is that they need. That must be a core value here, and you're demonstrating that through your marketing. So, yeah, I wanted to put this on. I actually put this, so I wouldn't forget, right next to my keys, because I thought this was one of the coolest, simple blends of brand and marketing and culture that I've ever seen, and I wanted to make sure to wear it today.
100%. I appreciate that a ton. I have to give Randy Harris, our CEO, a lot of credit because he came up with these before I got here in 2022, but part of my role has been tasked with finding different ways for these to come up. These actually started because when we were having a client end of year party, we needed something to kind of be like the like for the bar, like tracking who's on the open tab and things like that. I'm like, hey, you know what? Yes, like we're making something. Like, can we find something inspiring to give people? And like, yes, it's functional for this event, but maybe in the future they'll wear it more. Luckily, we had a ton of extras, and now we can give them away to people like you and things like that. So there is very much that aspect of we're helping guide people to the solutions they need with technology. There's a lot of kind of nuance there. We were talking a little bit before this as well about the technology recruiting and the managed IT services. And sometimes being a lighthouse is literally like shining a light and guiding them to one of those two solutions or something in the middle, like where they need to go. Might not be the path they're on right now, and you need to shine them down a different way. There's a lot of symbolism there about lighthouses in terms of like being a monument on a shoreline, and like they're going to be there when you show up at the city, when you're a ship coming in, things like that. Like there's the elements of resilience and grit, and like this is a strong symbol, like you're there, and we want to embody that for our clients and things like that. So there's a lot of different components there, and then that ties in with light up those around you really well, which is another one which is a little bit more light, and we want to bring positivity and joy to everything we do. It's part of the reason why it makes sense for us to have comic books on the wall while we're recording podcasts and things like that. But those are things that are so core to who we are. And we just had a new gentleman, Mike, start on our recruiting team this week, and was talking to him a little bit about our core values and kind of sharing the brand deck and things like that. And there's, an aspect there of like education and things like that. And he knew a few of our team members before he started here, but like those things are so prevalent in what we do, even coming down to like the hiring and the interview process and things like that, that it's just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like I get it, right? And that's kind of how it should be. And these are things that are like really beneficial for any company to invest in, I think, at like a foundational leadership, just like how we operate level, because it makes a big difference in everything you do.
It absolutely does. It's without it, you can get along for a while, you can be successful, but you're not maximizing your success. You're not being as good as you could be. And, ask any founder, entrepreneur, business leader, they want to be as successful as they can possibly be, and they want to have a place, they want to have low turnover, they want to have fast customer acquisition, they want to have all of these things that when you lay the right foundation, an overused analogy, but it's very true. Building a house, you start with the foundation. You don't start with the roof. And you don't even start with like the kitchen or the living room, the fun parts of the house, right? Mm-hmm. You start with that foundation. And brand and culture are such foundational elements that if defining those is going to build a structurally sound business, and one that is positioned to celebrate 20 years, 30 years, hopefully 50, 60, 70 years. We're really excited about what the future holds for us. And a lot of that is credit to the folks that started the company and really had those values from the beginning that we've lived all these years.
Love it. And I think the last thing I wanted to ask you about is like that brand and the culture and things like that. I really wanted to like go there in the talent retention perspective as well. Obviously, you've been there 15 years, which is a testament to obviously you've been able to grow there. But talent retention, like that's talk about a long career at one company in an era where a lot of people are jumping around every 2 to 3 years, things like that. How has that stuff helped over the last 5 years in terms of engagement and retention, and how well do you track those things? Like how important is that to the company, I guess?
Yeah, so super important. And so being able to build out our brand and have consistent brand expression, and now with a defined brand, now we've gotten into more, ESC swag. People wear ESC gear all the time, and it's
Nice.
consistent colors and consistent logos and consistent brand expression, and people are really proud and want to demonstrate that they work there. But it's helped to take our culture and spread it further and show people what our culture is all about who may not otherwise know ESC. So we've been able to attract folks that had never heard of our company but really liked what we were putting out there and how we were demonstrating our culture through all of the marketing that we do, be it how we talk about ourselves, our clients, and our employees on LinkedIn, or, the content. We're big on putting out content. There's always something to talk about in the field of HR. It's very expansive, and there's always something. So we have a really great blog team at ESC that does not include me. It's employees, which is really cool. So they drive what we're talking about, what we're saying, but they're using our style guide and our brand guide to make sure that they're taking their idea and that it fits into how we express ourselves. And so we put those out, and so we're attracting people that like what we have to say. The brand consistency has made us more recognizable. It's made our work, people can see it and know that it's ESC. It's really given a voice to this set of culture, the set of values rather, in this culture that have existed for a really long time that might have been Western New York's best kept secret, right? And so, it's great, but we really want to put it out there more to attract people. And so by doing that, the people that we're attracting to come work for us are people that share that value and share that approach. Our recent few hires, I think we've hired maybe 3 or 4 people so far this year. They have just been, we knew it when we interviewed them, that they embodied what it meant to be an ESC team member. They shared in kind of that service orientation, and they really appreciated all of the various things that we value and that we do as a company, and they wanted to be a part of it. 100%. And so that kind of motivation, they're here, they're working with us, they wanted to be there. They are really engaged right from the get-go, and they're delivering excellence to our clients. Amazing. So, and those are the people that will probably stay. You walk around our company for our 30th year video. We invited those that have been with the company 15 or more years to do a little individual snippet.
Awesome.
And it is amazing how many people have been there more than 15 years.
Nice.
Because it's a culture where people just want to come and stay. And so that kind of marriage of being able to have your brand expression align with your culture is going to get you people that want to work there, that fit in, that will do a great job, and then want to stay and continue to grow their career at ESC.
That type of longevity is really important, both for the employees and the company, and for any businesses out there in Buffalo who are thinking about where they go for the next 30 years. If they haven't invested in this type of stuff and thinking about this, it's a great place to start.
And being able to engage your employees in decisions and change is also super helpful. As I mentioned in the beginning, I really do feel like I've had 4 careers, all with this awesome company that I really love. And that's part of what keeps it interesting. For me, I really value learning new things. I'm really curious. I want to know everything about everything. And so by having that opportunity to work on different projects and to build out different aspects of the company that didn't exist before, but we identified a business need to have, has been remarkable. And, I'm one of many who have had similar paths there and doing different things and participating on different teams and building out new things. So it's really great.
Love all that. Thank you so much, Rachael.
Yeah.
This is going to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
And this is the conversation that I was hoping to have on here.
Awesome.
This was perfect.
I can't believe how fast it went by. I could talk about this for another hour. So
you know what? This is why I love getting my marketing and salespeople with me on the podcast and stuff like that, because I'm like, this is just natural. Like, this is our life. Like, we're in this stuff. We're talking about it.
And it's so interesting to me, and there's so many different ways that it can go that, I hope that everybody out there is having these types of conversations internally and with, people that you meet as you're out in the community. It's really been awesome. ESC values being out in the community, so we participate in different groups and we do different things. And so I've been able to meet people like you, other really inspiring people who I've learned so much from and who I can rely on or call when I want to kick around ideas or talk about something, and it's great.
I was gonna say, we've crossed paths so many different places between like Buffalo Niagara Manufacturing Alliance or Amherst Chamber of Commerce,
Yes.
and just around at other different events and things like that. And this was great to have you here, Rachael.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so much fun.
Can we do a little bit of rapid fire fun before
Let's
we
do it.
before we wrap it up?
Absolutely.
So this is called the hero's journey, is what we call it, because obviously like video game themed and all that kind of
I
stuff.
love it.
But lots of like kind of like personal questions, like going into your career and things like
Sure.
that, and kind of lessons you've learned and things like that. You ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
So I'm answering these fast, right? Like 5 seconds, because I can ramble.
You can ramble a little bit. How about 30 seconds?
Got it.
Cool. All right. First question: what were some of your interests as a kid?
All kinds of things. I loved sports, art, reading, theater. I wanted to be an astronaut when I was a kid. I loved gazing up into outer space.
Love that. That's still the best thing, is just to like be able to look up at the stars
It is.
and think about that at night. Love
Yeah,
that.
totally.
What was your first job?
I sold shoes at Sears. I don't know if you remember Sears. You might be a little.
I do.
All right.
I do. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right on that millennial cusp. Yep.
Yep. They sold a lot of work
Yeah.
boots. So I was 17 years old, and people would come in with their company, reimbursement. They needed to buy steel toe work boots, and I learned all kinds of things about different types of work boots for different jobs. It was great.
Yeah. And then now in HR and compliance and all that stuff probably comes in a little bit handy sometimes.
Yeah.
Love that. What inspires you most about the work that you do?
Oh, so many things. I would say that just always striving for better. So there's this term called Kaizen. We use it a lot in Six Sigma. Toyota, which kind of invented Six Sigma, really solidified that term, but it means always improving a little bit every day. And we live that. So I love that. And it's how I choose to live and how our company lives. So very inspiring.
Love that. Love that. Thinking towards the short-term future here, what's that one thing you want to accomplish? What's a big goal you've got on your plate right now?
At work or in life?
Could be either.
Yeah. So, at work, big goal is continuing to grow Meliora locally. So we have an amazing company that does transformational work for businesses. And so really looking to hit some milestones there in terms of local growth and keep up with our national growth there, which has been tremendous.
Nice.
Personally, someday on my bucket list, I want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro.
Nice.
It's not happening in the next couple of years, but I will do that someday.
Oh my gosh, that would be so cool. I've seen like photos from a couple of people who have gone there.
Yeah.
Just seems like a wild, incredible
I've done a lot of research about it to learn, what do you need to do to prepare? How can you do it? Going with groups, and it's a
Love
goal.
that. You'll climb that mountain. I love that. And last one we've got here. Thinking about like your sales and marketing career, what advice do you have for people who want to build a career doing the type of work you've done?
Yeah, I would say put your hand up, volunteer for things. Almost every opportunity that I've had, you can kind of root cause back to saying yes or volunteering to do something. So if it's something that aligns with your interests or you think that it's interesting, you don't have to know everything or check every single box.
Yeah.
I'm learning marketing as I go. I'm learning continuous improvement and Lean Six Sigma as I go. I've been on the board of the Amherst Chamber for 10 years. I got on the board kind of at a younger age because I put my hand up to chair a council, and the chair of that council had an appointed board seat. And so that has given me, it's been wonderful to be a part of that awesome organization all these years. So was I the most qualified? Absolutely not. Sometimes you just got to say yes. So I really encourage everybody, be brave and take a chance. And if there's something that interests you, go for it. Don't worry about being perfect.
Yeah. You never know what doors will open.
100%.
Cool. Awesome. That's the show.
Awesome. Thank
Boom.
you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming. All right, I'm doing Day in the Life solo today, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of my work in marketing at Lighthouse Technology Services, which encompanies a lot of different things that help set the brand and the culture here. But I think what's most impactful coming out of my conversation with Rachael is that brand and culture are two things that tie down into every individual action that different departments take, whether it's finance or IT or HR or sales or marketing, or the visionary, the leader up top, the CEO. So marketing as the tone setter, the definer, there's a function for marketing within Entrepreneur Operating System, EOS, is something that we've been implementing. And marketing is a function in there, and then marketing has separate sub-functions that help the business. So one of them is that we have on ours is brand positioning for competitive advantage. So that's a really clarifying thing, that it's not just brand for the sake of brand and saying we are, a company that embodies these missions and vision and values, that this is our purpose, this is our niche, this is our, marketing strategy, things like that. It's brand positioning for competitive advantage. What is the work that we do? How do we compare to other ways that businesses might solve the problems that we provide solutions for? How do we make sure that we're the preferred choice so that then we become the chosen choice down the line? And that really starts from people understanding what we do at Lighthouse Technology Services, which as I've come to find from a lot of people, they've learned a lot about the people that work here and the characteristics that we embody and where we show up in the community and things like that. But I've just had one too many friends lately who are just like, I love you guys, like you're really cool, but I don't know what you do. And I'm going to set the record straight here and just kind of go into Lighthouse Technology Services, the company story a little bit. I think that'd be really helpful to document here. So now whenever I have friends who do that, I can just send them a link and say, hey, go check this out. This is what Lighthouse Technology Services does. So this is where we set the foundation for what we do before we get into anything else with branding, as far as why we do it, what values we embody, things like that. So Lighthouse started out as a company focused on contract staffing for technology roles. That was our founding business really back in 2004. Evolved from there to really cover the full range of staffing. So contract to hire, direct hire, giving businesses different options for how to grow their team with a staffing partner, whether they want to bring in, full-time dedicated team members or they want some flexibility as they scale up, is really the reason that goes right there. But really staying focused in the technology niche, obviously staffing a few roles here and there that might be kind of tech adjacent or tech aligned, but really focused on technology, because finding technology professionals and finding that right balance of the hard skills and the soft skills for certain roles is a really hard thing. And that's something that we've been specializing in. So that's really our bread and butter right there, is the staffing part. The other side of the house is IT services. And these are two very different businesses that if you typically meet a business around Buffalo, you're looking at a recruiting company or you're looking at an IT MSP. IT managed services is where we get into your traditional help desk, desktop support, sending in a ticket to the IT person. Infrastructure, so monitoring devices, networks, servers, those kinds of things, the whole technology environment, we call it, that where there's different systems and tools in place where technology helps people do their work. Cybersecurity, really where we come in there is talking about things like multi-factor authentication, firewalls, business continuity, disaster recovery planning, things like that, like not 24/7 cybersecurity, but the basics that you're going to need to maintain your cyber insurance. Those are the kinds of things that we help with there. And then technology projects and strategy, and making sure that you move the ball forward as a business using technology as a function. We want businesses to be placing the impact on technology to that scale where they understand, hey, this is not just a back office function. This is the backbone of how we operate. Technology is something important that we need to invest in and not commoditize. We need to find the right technology and the right talent to be able to help move technology forward as a function of our business. So that's really the whole overarching model right there of why we do all of those things. So fully managed IT services might be at the bottom. I'm going to visualize our little services stack is kind of how I draw it out. But we have managed IT services for companies that have no IT technology professionals on staff. Maybe it's an operations manager or somebody like that doing it right now. So there's managed IT services. There's co-managed IT services. So if you got one IT pro, you can partner up with our team, utilize everybody's best skills to their advantage, have, really symbiotic support there, things like that. So you got managed IT, co-managed IT, direct hire staffing. If you want to start bringing in more technology professionals to your business, we can supply those people and do the recruiting work there. And that's really helpful as well then if it's a company where we're doing IT services with, we can help you recruit somebody who we know is going to work well with our team in a co-managed partnership as well. So there's kind of where some of the overlap starts to come in, but direct hire staffing and then contract to hire and contract as the next level of, hey, if you're looking to really flex and scale up your team, this is where a lot of the enterprise companies tend to play when it comes to technology staffing, contract and contract to hire. So that covers the whole range of technology service solutions that, depending on how you need to use technology talent to help scale your business, we have solutions from managed IT services to co-managed all the way through different recruiting. And that's a really differentiated spot to be in under one house in Buffalo. So we're getting back again to brand positioning for a competitive advantage. My job in marketing is, okay, how do we clarify exactly what I just said on camera right there? And then how does that show up externally? Well, first it starts with how that shows up internally, making sure our team knows, okay, this is all the different things that people do, because our IT services and our IT staffing team get together periodically. They're in the office, they interact sometimes there, here and there, but there's very few opportunities where we're able to get everyone together and really clarify, like, hey, these are the things that everybody's working on. And then for me as marketing, and for Bill, our business development, who runs the sales team, to be able to say, hey, this is how we communicate the work that we do externally. So then we get to internal evangelization, internal understanding of what we do, our value proposition, things like that. That's the brand positioning piece that we're talking about right there. And then marketing, obviously, is how that shows up externally. So then brand positioning for a competitive advantage externally is all about, how does this brand positioning and our messaging show up on our website, on our social media? How do we communicate it when we go to events? How do we communicate it when we're in a sales meeting? How can we, make this messaging prevalent in the market? How can we attract people to us? How do we build a positive reputation so people are familiar with us when we reach out to them, potentially, when we meet them at an event, things like that? We want to become known, liked, and trusted is really what it comes down to at the end of the day. We have to be known in order for people to even consider doing business with us. And being known means not just that they know somebody who works there, knowing exactly the types of work that we do, the types of problems that we solve, and the solutions we offer. That's like the level of known that we're talked about. Then we get into like being liked and what we call brand affinity and all those things. So we have our core values. Actually, I've got them on my wrist right here. They'll light up those around you and be a lighthouse. And we have stories that we tell internally and then externally around some of those core values as well. But those are the kinds of things that build affinity, that when we talk and when we act, when people meet with us, that there's interaction and synergy between those things. That helps us become known and liked. And then that sets the stage for building trust, which is the foundation of any services partnership. The saying is always, we're a trusted partner. But there's a lot of work that goes into getting to that point and then to maintaining that status. So that's really where brand positioning for competitive advantage comes in. And then, as we talked about in this whole chat with Rachel, like, brand and culture are these ambivalent concepts, but they show up in every single little thing that you do. And then because of that, they can be measured in every single thing that you do. Are you getting more inbound sales leads? Are you getting more inbound people saying that they want to work with you, inbound talent attraction? Are you able to close sales deals faster because you're more known and you don't have to spend as much time doing the initial pitch before getting into negotiations and building trust and things like that? These are all things that marketing can help with. And marketing doesn't just mean helping sales, right? Marketing is not just a lever to pull and get revenue. Like, there's specific strategic goals that you can drive in there. And that's everything that we've learned over the last couple of years at Lighthouse, that marketing is about how do we help the business grow, and how that actually happens can show up in a lot of different ways. So then what does that look like for me day to day? That looks like we're making podcasts like this, right? We're making things where we're sharing human stories from our team, from our community partners and friends and things like that. We're sharing lessons that show how different people and how our team address problems related to technology and talent. We're helping other people learn so that we can become known and liked and give people spaces to come and learn from us. And we're using that as an on-ramp to start learning about the solutions that we offer, and then potentially hoping that that leads to business down the line. Brand positioning for competitive advantage through content. And then that goes to, the next layer of that is even testimonials and collecting reviews and things like that. Glad to say we hit about, I believe we hit 200 reviews on Google, on our Google My Business page for Lighthouse recently. And if you go there, the vast majority are 5 stars. And that's not just recent. Like, we didn't just run one campaign for 6 months to say, hey, give us a 5-star review and we'll send you a gift card or something. Like, that's earned over years and years and years of people leaving 5-star reviews. And a lot of that was honestly just because people would tell us positive feedback in private. And then we can just easily give them the prompt, hey, look, we'd really appreciate it if you leave a review on Google or another site like this. And that'll help more people find us so that we can serve them and give them the same positive experience that we gave to you. So that's really something that's helped us as well with brand positioning. Even just initially opening that door, because if people are starting to consider working with Lighthouse, like, they're going to go to Google and they're going to look at our page and our reviews and things like that. And then, building brand ambassadors and helping our team be visible in the community, whether that's at events or on LinkedIn or on podcasts and content, things like that, goes a long way as well. Because the way that we also set up brand positioning is that our people are the product at the end of the day. Like when you're signing up to do tech recruiting with Lighthouse, you're working with recruiters and the work that they do. So the more that we can get our recruiting team in front of, our current and potential clients, the more that we can get them in front of candidates who could potentially be people that we help find jobs. That's going to go a long way as well, because those people that work here at Lighthouse are extensions of our brand and our culture. And they're really the first touch point that then will lead to people considering working with us in the long run. So that's really a little bit of, just an overview of how we approach marketing at Lighthouse. But, more of what I do day to day is video editing. It's meeting with our team to, communicate marketing concepts and like how marketing can support their staffing and services work. What else goes into my day? It's a lot of setting up community events for our team. So making sure that we get out to, whether it's a golf tournament or a corporate challenge or hosting a workshop about interviewing techniques. We've got some of that coming up with Tech Buffalo, making sure that our team is getting out there and making sure they're prepared to deliver an amazing experience that's consistent with our core values and our brand and our culture, things like that. All that really falls under my job as well. So, if anyone's interested, drop me a connection on LinkedIn, and glad to share a little more about my day and my life from there. And if you're checking out Lighthouse podcasts on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Pods, make sure to also subscribe to Light Up the Buffalo Economy. We're getting our CEO, Randy Harris, on the podcast airwaves as well, and he's having great conversations with people who are more on the C-suite level around Buffalo, people who are change makers, and people who are really setting the tone for the business economy around here, people who are invested in seeing this city grow, because when the city's businesses grow, the communities grow as well. So make sure you check out Light Up the Buffalo Economy with Randy Harris wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, this show's brought to you by Lighthouse Technology Services, the place for technology talent. That's Level Up with Lighthouse. I'll see you next time.